Welcome to the Joy of Connecting, where modern professionals share stories of meaningful connection and how it can increase business success, unlock career growth, and create personal happiness. If you like what you hear today, get even more by following the Joy of Connecting on LinkedIn and subscribing to our newsletter that features tips from experts on how to network and connect with more meaning. Hey, listeners, and welcome back to the Joy of Connecting. I am here with not only an interesting gentleman, but a friend of mine as well. Antonio Caridad, he's the head of Global Partner Ops at Tricentis, and he is also the first partnerships-related role person that we're having on the show. So I'm excited because connection is so fundamental to success in partnerships. So welcome, Antonio. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here. And I feel honored to be the first partnerships person on this.
Well, let's be honest. You're here because I like you and then also because you're partnerships. But let's get into that. Tell us a bit about what you do for a living, but more importantly, who are you passionate about helping?
That's a great question. As you said, I do partner ops. I've been a partnerships person for a very long time, 13 plus years. But lately, in the last year, I made the decision to transition into RevOps from a partnerships perspective as a way to bridge the gap between partnership teams that normally find themselves on islands to the rest of the go-to-market engine, right? That takes me into who I'm passionate about helping, right? I'm passionate about helping professionally partnerships people that live in the world of partnerships by uncovering revenue opportunities through partners. But on the flip side, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I am passionate about helping job seekers. I have this little tiny post thing that I do every other Friday where I try to spotlight job seekers that are on their search for their next adventure, right? So I just try to put out there and pay forward some of the generosity that has been given to me.
Yeah. The parallel there, of course, being connection, but this idea of finding alignment between two things, right? You're finding alignment between on the partnership side, but looking for that person who's searching for the role and the people that are looking to fill the roles. I love it's Friday Liftoff, right? That's what you call it?
Friday Liftoff, correct.
Friday Liftoff. It's fantastic. So, of course, whoever's listening, you should be following that. Well, you and I have had a lot of great storytelling time together. I thought it would be excellent to ask you to come here and share a story about connection, sometime when you've seen it, really kickstart a business from the partnership side or whatever you decide to speak about today. So will you share your story with the audience?
The story that I'm going to pick is very recent in my memory because it happened last summer. And that was me getting invited to the Arcadia Leadership Experience, which was an unconference or anti-conference, as they defined it, that was put together by the one and only Jason Yarborough and Sam Yarborough up in Bozeman, Montana. It was a partnerships-driven conference, but for non-partnerships people. And the special thing is that it was all outdoors in the wilderness of Montana. We were glamping. We were in teepees. There were no screens. Also, there was very little reception and virtually no Wi-Fi. So everybody was present and on the moment. It was special. Not only professionally was it super, super meaningful. I normally walk out of conferences with maybe a couple of pages of notes. I'm not kidding. I walked out of those 3-4 days with 15 to 20 pages of notes.
Wow.
But also I made incredible relationships, incredible people that I now call friends. That was a really, really cool moment and a really big highlight of last year professionally.
Yeah. Do you think that, I think there's a thread to be pulled there with this idea of you can really make deeper connections in those scenarios that are outside of the norm, right? I picture, first of all, I was very jealous to have not gone last year. I have such FOMO that I wasn't there. But I picture you and some of these other folks like Sam and Jason, chatting as you're fly fishing or sitting around the campfire and bonding. What's your take on that? Is that kind of a really important piece of connection, or does that just light an extra special fire? Because it really did create moments that people felt much more deeply than just, another Zoom chat.
Absolutely. I can tell you that coming out of that, there's people that are now working together. There's people that went to the conference that have now joined companies of CROs, of CEOs that were there. I personally became an investor of somebody that owns a company there. right? And so those are some of the little things, but also at the same time, not only were the conversations super meaningful, and as you say, like the conversations were happening while we were sitting and doing cold plunges on a stream,
Oh my goodness.
while doing fly fishing, while hiking, while sitting around a campfire at night drinking bourbon,
Yeah.
right? But also I had very meaningful conversations with more than a couple of CEOs and CMOs that challenged me to basically build things around partner operations that nobody else, right? They told me like, you are, and what you're doing is very nascent, is a humongous bridge that we can basically use, but nobody's talking about playbooks. Nobody's talking about frameworks. There's nothing out there. Start building it, right? And since then, I've been doing that. And, I presented my V1 version of that at Pavilion's GTM, for example. And I talked a little bit about it in Jason and Sam's podcast as well. And so a lot of really, really cool relationships, not only with me, but amongst the people that were there came out of that. Like it
Brilliant.
became a really tight group.
Mm-hmm. Well, the next question I'm going to ask you is what's one piece of advice? But the advice that I just got from what you're saying is drink bourbon around campfires and good things will happen. That's what I'm taking away from this. So the question to you then is when it comes to building meaningful connections more generally and really building relationships that actually turn into things, as you're
Mhm.
explaining, what is one piece of advice you might give to someone else who's maybe earlier in their career or really just trying to learn how to do that better?
I think I'm gonna give you a couple. The first one is I guess the one that you hear most often, which is you need to put yourself out there, right? You're not gonna make relationships if you don't put yourself out there, right? And part of that means don't treat it as a zero-sum game. It has to be a mutual relationship. It has to be, beneficial to both parties and all of that. So that leads me to that second part, which is make sure you give first and give often. And so always lead with value. And you'll find that more often than not, and more likely than not, you're going to build very meaningful relationships. That is the mantra. That is the cardinal rule of partnership.
Mhm.
If you are going to go into the world of partnerships, you need to be really good at making connections, at building network and all of that. And all of that starts with being able to give first and give up and leading with value. Because in partnerships, when you don't do that, when you treat it as a zero-sum game where you win, the other party doesn't, that's where you don't have a partnership. You have a transactional, right?
Yep.
And so that basically ties it all together.
Yeah. I hear that. I mean, it's funny. We turned some of this advice into kind of a almost a playlist on YouTube. And I think that's going to be every other one is give first, give
Mm-hmm.
first. And it shows up in partnerships. It shows up in relationships, on the personal side
Mm-hmm.
over and over again. As you're having these discussions with people, as you're sitting down to listen to what they need, as you're thinking about what you can give, what is one question that you like to ask that can kind of open up a discussion or lead to really cool outcomes? What's a question that you sometimes use?
I'm a curious person by nature, and I really love to learn what makes people tick,
Yeah.
right? And so I normally lead with a question of like you started, like, what are you passionate about? Who are you passionate about helping, right? Those kind of questions that lead me to know what is it that make you tick, right?
Mhm.
Whenever I'm talking to job seekers, I try to like dig into like, what are you looking for and why? Like,
Yeah.
why is that what you're looking for? Is it just because you are trying to follow what's easy or what's going to take you to your next job?
Mhm.
Or how are you leading to getting to that spot that is going to make you truly happy professionally, to understand that you're looking for the right job or not, right? And so I really try to like dig into like what makes you tick,
Yeah.
because I have an answer for myself, but every person is different, right? So yeah.
Well, I feel like I have to pause and ask that then. What makes you tick, Antonio?
That's a good question. I'm an engineer. I'm a builder by heart.
Your builder.
I'm a telecom engineer that landed in partnerships after working in telecom for many years, and became a sales and kind of marketing guy, not really marketing, but more sales, and now RevOps. But I'm by nature, I'm a numbers guy. I'm a builder guy. I love to like you and I were talking about Legos earlier.
Mhm.
I'm a nerd of Legos. I like building and destroying and rebuilding things and see how I can rebuild. I love taking things apart. Whenever I'm in calls, you might sometimes catch me like taking pens basically into pieces and rebuilding them like multiple times during a call.
Interesting.
Right? You know, I grew up with my parents saying that I love to destroy things just because of that, right? Because I was trying to rebuild them, right? But you know, it's just my engineering mind. I love to see how things work
Yes.
inside and learn what makes one piece work against the next and the next and the next, you know, one gear against the next. And so that makes me tick. And that's why I think I'm good in operations, because I like looking at process flows. I like challenging process flows, finding efficiencies, seeing where we can make things better, right?
And not just operations, but the partnership side as well. How do I put two things together that make a bigger, better third thing? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the connections.
Absolutely.
It's so neat. I have to ask, who else do you look to as just a total pro when it comes to connection and building the joy of connection or building, the impact of connection? Who's a total pro that stands out in your mind?
I mentioned them earlier, but I'm gonna pick Sam and Jason Yarbrough. When we talked about earlier about giving first, you'll find it hard to find a couple that is not only a power couple, but a more generous couple with their time, with their knowledge, with their connections, with their everything. I think Sam and Yarby are up there, top pros in everything that they do.
They also have a fantastic podcast. So for anyone listening,
Yeah.
if you need to go right to another podcast, it's called Friends with Benefits, and it's fantastic. How often is it that you get that wonderful, they're a married couple and yet they both bring massive value to each other and to what they deliver? So
Absolutely.
good shout out. Okay, well, before we go, I wanted to ask, where else can people see more about you, find out more, follow what you're up to?
Good question. So I'm not really a social media person other than LinkedIn. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I write a lot about partner operations. So if you don't want to listen about partner operations and partnerships, I'm not your guy. But I do also, as mentioned, do the Friday liftoff, and I write a lot about job seekers. So if there is an ask, because I always get that question, how can I help today, right? My ask always these days is, it's not for me. It's when you see the Friday liftoff come out, which is every other Friday, all I'm asking is just please provide some reach. So comment, like, and repost.
Yep.
Because the whole purpose is to get those folks that I'm highlighting in front of the right eyeballs, right? In front of the right recruiters, hiring managers, companies, whatever you name it. And so if you're a recruiter, if you're a hiring manager, take a look at the Friday Liftoff. You might find really, really, really good talent there. If you're a job seeker and you want to be featured, let me know. I would love that.
Perfect. Well, it's called The Joy of Connection, and I always get much joy from connecting with you. So thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all mine. It's always really fun talking to you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave a review to help us reach more listeners. Have a story of your own to share or know someone who should be on the show? Visit www.joyofconnect.ing and let us know. Now go send a short message to someone you've been meaning to connect with. You never know where it might lead.